From the studios of Tucson Business RadioX, recorded in the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway, you are now listening to The Mark Bishop Show. And now here's your host, Mark Bishop.
Well, on The Mark Bishop Show, I thought we'd do a bit of a whip around and talk to our presidents of the chambers, with everything that's been going on. So I'm going to ask Dave Perry, who's the president and CEO of the Oro Valley Chamber, of what's new, pussycat type thing. The last time I spoke with Dave, it was a very positive go-ahead with 2 senior care facilities, a self-storage facility, a spa at a resort, and all sorts of emphasis for the community. Where are you at now, David? And have you been stopped at the brick wall?
In some regards, yes, but in other regards, no, Mark. Here's an interesting piece of news is just today we learned that the University of Arizona has admitted its first class for the veterinary college, which is going to be located in Oro Valley. They had more than 500 applications for 110 positions, and that first class should be starting this August right along Oracle Road in the Foothills Business Park in Oro Valley. So that's a piece of good news, and we all like hearing something like that. And as you and I have talked, the future is bright. The challenge at the moment is to get to the future, and we're all facing similar straits across the community and the country, of course.
Well, as a president right now, it must be a heavy weight on your shoulders. I mean, you want to do so much for all of your members. What can you do right now?
You know what we're doing right now, Mark, is we're just talking to them. We have a staff meeting every Monday, and my message is pick up the list and start calling folks and find out how they're doing and what we can do to help them. And so much of our service becomes that sort of granular one-to-one service model, if you will, which is what we've built the thing on. And now more than ever, it's what's important. And we're having some real success with that. Our members everybody wants to tell their story. Everybody wants to share what's happened to them, and they're also looking for what resources do you have? What connections can you make? Can you assist us with the pursuit of federal aid? All those kinds of things come up in these conversations, and we have a couple specific programs I'll speak to you about in a moment, but just touching the members and letting them know that we're here and that we can help them has been positive and affirming.
Well, I think from memory, and the last time that we did have a chat, there was something like 538 active members. That's been growing all the time. And then you got slammed with this thing. And when did it start to really hit you? In March or February, would you think, with Oro Valley?
I honestly remember the moment was we have an ambassadors group that meets once a month, and I believe we met on March the 9th. And I don't always go to those meetings, but they invited me to just come and speak with them. Actually, it was March the 11th. And I went into this meeting and just wanted to have a broad conversation. And immediately, the 10 members who were in the room turned their attention to coronavirus and started talking, sharing their concerns, their fears. And I realized right then, I thought, oh my gosh, I got to pay attention to this. And of course, right in that time frame is when it all snowballed for us with closures and shutdowns and, cancellations. And we've been paying attention to it full time ever since.
Yeah, I mean, you just landed a couple of big fish too. I mean, the Roche Tissues Diagnostics it's just started to really kick off. I mean, what do you do in a situation when you start getting a million phone calls from small businesses all around you, members of the chamber and so on, wanting this advice, what to do about the government scenario? Do you have somebody on deck that has all of the answers? Because I believe it's a tricky business.
It is a tricky business. And what we've done is we've gone to our financial institutions, Mark, and we've said, are you participating in SBA applications? Are you accepting requests from previous people who weren't your customers, non-customers, to help them through the process? And then we get names and phone numbers and emails and contact information, and we share that with these small businesses, the micro businesses, Mark, that are feeling the pinch more than anyone, I might suggest, and have the least human and cash resources to deal with a crisis. And so those are the folks who have really come to us and said, what can you do? How can you help us? And you're right, making the dance with government is never simple. And we're trying to help them through that process any way that we can. And we've had some successes. Our staff has been great at introductions and making connections and sharing anecdotal stories that might, be illuminating to our members. We've done some webinars with the Small Business Development Center, which has its resources. So, it's all hands on deck. Let's try every avenue we can to get some help for folks.
Well, your offices must be closed, no doubt. So everybody's working remotely, including you.
Yes, that's right. I'm sitting here in my home office in Oro Valley with a beautiful view of Mount Lemmon out my window, but it's been an adjustment, to put it mildly. But yes, all of our folks are working at home right now.
So if I'm a small business in the area, and I may not, be a member of the chamber just yet, but maybe I'm thinking of it, but I'm definitely within that region, what should I do?
What should you do? Well, I always say I don't know how to run anybody's business, but I can connect people to information and resources that they may not be aware of, and we do that every day. Here's an example. Last week, we had a board meeting, and one of our great board members, Tom Hebner, comes from Roche Tissue Diagnostics, which you spoke about. And Roche has developed a great system for coronavirus screening of its employees. And, you walk in, you're going to work on campus, you have to stop at a tent, they take your temperature, they do screening, they activate your badge to get in, and off to work you go. And we have publicized that we have access to their protocols, if you will, the way that they go about doing that work. And I've had 3 requests just today from some of them big employers saying, hey, will you share what Roche is doing? What advice and tips do they have? We're not the experts at the chamber, but we can connect you to the people who know what they're talking about. And that's our strength. That's what we do.
Yeah, very much so. That sounds very encouraging, doesn't it, what Roche is doing there?
Oh, boy, yeah. They're a leader in so many ways, Mark. And really, they're running full bore right now. So many businesses have been devastated by this crisis, but there are some that are busier than ever. I was on the phone with the town of Oro Valley this morning, and Walmart is trying to hire 50,000 people across our country, and they're trying to hire dozens and dozens of people right here in Oro Valley. And, they're just slammed. They're super busy. And we're trying to connect those displaced workers with that opportunity, which is a decent job and, really might be something for someone to explore. So we've got some good leadership among our major employers in the community, and they can teach all of us about how to proceed.
Well, when it comes to that particular job there, the opportunity for work there that you mentioned, is this listed on the Chamber's site right now? What can people do? Can they apply literally with you, or how do they go about this?
They can find a link to it. You go to our website, orovalleychamber.com, and there's a link called News and Resources. And we have been putting tons and tons of links and suggestions and ideas on that site, and everyone's welcome. We have been posting the activities of both members and non-members in Oro Valley on that website, because we're all in this together. We're all connected, whether you're a member of the chamber or not. And we want everyone to get some thriving benefit out of what our activity is. And, we'll try to help everybody at this crisis, because, we're not going to discriminate. We want to help all businesses be successful right now.
Well, that's it. Everybody is saying it. We're all in it together. So I'm interested in this Roche Diagnostics thing they've come up with. I mean, do you know much about it at all? Or is it as good as the government one's doing at the moment? Or how can it affect all of us here?
I think what they do is, in my very limited understanding, you're going to work, you go into a tent where a professional will screen your temperature and ask you some questions about your activities, and then deem if you're in adequate health to go into the workplace. And if you're not in adequate health, they have a protocol that suggests that you go home and you might take sick time or whatever it might be, but they are super sensitive about keeping their workplace free of people who are infected with the virus. And, we've had a large landscaping company ask us about that protocol. They're putting hundreds of people out there every day. Right. And then we've had a home care business has asked us about it, saying, what are they doing? Maybe we should adopt some of their practices. And, think about it. Roche is a world leader in so many things, and they've got expertise and experience that we can all benefit by.
Wow, it sounds amazing. Well, maybe they can put some of that on your site, and perhaps there's other companies that can, make use of that, get the benefit of that.
That's the idea, certainly.
Particularly the bigger ones anyway. All right. Well, the best thing for anybody to do right now then is to utilize the Chamber's website and stay in touch for news. Is there anybody else they can call other than yourself? Because you're doing it all. But
no, you can just call me and I can direct other people. And go to my email is dave@orovalleychamber.com, and I'm looking at it more than I should, honestly. May I share a couple other things that we're doing, Mark?
By all means, please do, yes.
We're very concerned about the restaurant business. As you know, we have no in-house dining right now. So my staff has started a social media campaign that we call #DinoVAZ. And what happens is people go and get takeout or delivery from a restaurant. They might take a photograph of their food and then share that, that particular restaurant is open and here's what the food looks like. And just by participating, we're entering those participants in a weekly drawing for $25 restaurant cards that we've purchased from member businesses. And we're giving out 3 a week right now. And, it doesn't take it. There's no entry cost. It's free to do. And, we want to get attention paid to those restaurants that are hanging by a thread in some instances and want to just get a little more attention, a little more business to them to keep them going. The other thing that we're doing is our chamber and our chamber foundation. We have a foundation, a 501c3. The boards of both of those organizations each agreed to kick in $5,000 apiece, and we purchased grocery cards at Walmart. And we've purchased so far $10,050 in grocery cards. We got another $6,000 on order from donations. And what we're doing is we're purchasing grocery cards and we're giving them to our employers who have had to furlough or lay off people. We're limiting it to 7 per business, but we've got hundreds of people who have lost jobs, and we want to get them some money to put food on the table. Yes, there's help coming from workers' unemployment insurance, rather, and from federal stimulus, but every little bit helps in a crunch, and it's just our small way of trying to get those folks to a rough spot and to help maintain the relationship between employer and employee so that when we get back on our feet again, they're still talking to each other and still doing business so we can get up and running.
That's really good. Well, I think what we'll do here, too, is I'll send you the link of this. You can put it on your website, and, it'll repeat itself and help some others as well. All right, Dave. Well, look, by all means, stay in touch with me. Let me know if there's anything drastically new. All we can do right now is do what we're asked to do. And people, go to that site, the Oro Valley. What is it again, please, Dave?
It's orovalleychamber.com.
Oro Valley Chamber, www.orovalleychamber.com. A lot of info on it. And there could be something right there for you right now that could be helping you straight away. So, Dave, good on you, mate. President, CEO of the Oro Valley Chamber, doing a sterling job. And thanks, mate. Keep it up, okay?
Mark, thanks for your time and your interest, and you take care.
Okay. Goodbye now.
Bye-bye.
You are currently listening to The Mark Bishop Show, broadcasting from the Stewart Title Studio on Broadway in Tucson, Arizona. Back to the show.
And as I said before on the Mark Bishop Show, what we're going to do is have a quick whip around and find out. I mean, it's a horrible time. We're all going through absolute murder. And, the chambers, are they copping it hard at the moment? And henceforth, we've been, speaking to Dave Barry just a second ago in relation to Aura Valley, all that they're doing and what they're up to. And now I'm fortunate enough to have Audrey Winters on the line with me. And Audrey, of course, is the president and CEO of the Marana Chamber of Commerce. Hi there, Audrey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, considering, remote like everybody else at the moment. I miss my studio terribly and everybody coming in and sitting around the table.
I bet. Well, I appreciate you doing this, too. It's nice to be able to connect this way, at least.
At least we're lucky we can do that. And I would imagine, too, that, you're not free-flowing either. Do you work from the office or from home as well?
We have shut the chamber down, and we are working from home right now. So we are doing the work at home thing, too. You're doing it as well. We have a small staff, but we also run the visitor center for the town of Marana, and that's located at the chamber. So we didn't want to have cars outside thinking that we were open and expecting guests. So we just decided to shut it down and work from home.
Well, that's smart.
We do have a kiosk outside of in our carport area where people can still pick up information about Tucson, maps, obviously information about Marana too. So we're still trying to be able to connect them.
Well, I was going to ask you, how are you staying in touch with all of your members? What actually are you doing?
We're doing a couple of things. Obviously, the good old-fashioned emails. We are finding that our emails are getting lost amongst everybody else's emails, and obviously they're work emails. And since everybody's working a little bit differently, we've gone back to the old-fashioned way of picking up the phone and making phone calls. So we've been calling our members, checking in with them. Some we haven't been able to reach just because they're not in the office or working different hours too. But most of the time we're just, reaching through phone calls, also our social media sites too.
Mm-hmm. And you've met most of your members, well, all of your members, of course, at the different functions that the Chamber puts on. It's a very diverse range of business people, isn't it?
We do. We do have a large, we have a lot of independent contractors, and then we have our small businesses and our large corporations. And we don't just cover the Marana area. We, have Tucson businesses, Vail, Green Valley, so anybody that wants to be doing business in Marana is able to come to the, be a part of the Marana Chamber. We are still doing our, some of our committee meetings, and then we do a fourth Tuesday mixer and then a networking breakfast. And we've been doing those through Zoom. And we've been also offering some education Zoom opportunities to our member too, just to kind of keep them connected. And I know probably by now everyone's tired of Zoom, but it's one of the best ways to see people still.
It is at the moment, yes. I still use the phones per se, but I am going to be expanding, and I'll be using Zoom. The problem with Zoom is that I can't have the length of time I want just at the moment. And because I'm not doing enough to justify, but I'm going to be doing it because I'm going into video as well. And add to that, I think it'd be nice if people can, see each other on YouTube and also use it for social media. So we'll have both Tucson Business RadioX from the audio component, but we'll be using other channels for video as well. And that'll be good that way. Mind you, right. I do get a lot of clients and people that say, no, I don't want to go on camera. Thank you very much. It's like that.
Well, now Zoom is so fancy is that you can put a cool background up or put a glamour shot picture or something. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be yours. But what I like too is that, you get to kind of feel people because they're in their home usually. And so you kind of get a sense of, of who they are more too.
Well, yeah, you've got to be careful what you have behind you. I've noticed that.
And then the barking dogs, or if you have kids and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah,
it's real. So. I'll give it that. I love the beach background personally with the palm trees.
Yes,
I miss the oceans terribly, I can tell you. I love Tucson, but, I miss the ocean. You had a couple I've noticed on your calendar. I was on it this morning online. You had a couple of coming up, didn't you, in the next week or two? I think you had 2 events. Of course, you've probably had to cancel those.
Yes. So actually, this Thursday was supposed to be our State of the Town. So we have canceled it, for now. We're hoping to reschedule towards the end of the year, later in the fall, just depending on what things are, we're looking at and how we can meet. We might have to do, a different way of doing a State of the Town too. Maybe just meet in a smaller group and then again, have it, via video or so forth too. So we did have to postpone that, and then some of our larger luncheons too.
Mm.
That we're not able to do.
You don't know what to think, do you? Because you see them even in the White House and the press gallery, they're 6 feet apart and so on. And then you hear other people say 10 feet apart. And then, it'd be very difficult to run a function with everybody wearing masks, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
I tell you what.
But that might be the way that we, are doing business now. And people are getting very creative with their masks too. So
yes, they are.
That might be the way to do it. But we are starting to, in guidance with what the White House has put out and what the governor is going to be putting together, we're going to start working on a plan to, start working on recovering and what that looks like, what our businesses are thinking, especially some of ours that, have that interaction that they've had to, to change and pivot somewhat. So we're looking at maybe, like talking to a lot of our bankers and restaurant people and, how do we help support them once they do are able to start opening up too. So we're putting a focus group together for that.
That's good. That's good. But it's funny you should bring up about the restaurants and the workers. I interviewed Jim Cook this morning, the owner and founder of Samuel, what's it called, Down at the Beer. Anyway, he started this thing with, of course, the raising the money and funds for the workers and restaurants. And, that fund is something over $2 million now.
Oh, wow.
And workers who may hear this but didn't hear that, you're welcome to go to Tucson Business Radio X, and you'll be able to hear the interview on the Mark Bishop Show of how to apply. I think it's up to $1,000 you get.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
And that helps, doesn't it, with a car payment and maybe some rent or even just food, or because they're missing out terribly. The restaurants have been hit. Samuel Adams, there we go. And us, the old subconscious, it'll pop in.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll definitely get on there and I'll share it with our members and stuff too, because that's great information. And there's so many good things that are coming out of this. I just hate that we have to do things like this, but there are so many good things that are coming out and people really coming together. And I know it's a slow process, getting people the relief that they need, but it is coming together. So, and it's just individuals, like that company that start something and pretty soon it's taken off and it's actually helping people.
Yeah. He started it back on March 18th, actually, in Massachusetts. And the original restaurant, it's called the Restaurant Strong Fund. Okay, sure. Restaurant Strong Fund. In fact, I'll give you the website too.
Okay.
That will help because any of your people can go straight to it. That's www.restaurantstrong.org.
Sure.
All right, it's all one word, Restaurant Strong. Okay. And he's tied up with the Greg Hill Foundation. They're the people, getting it out there. But the beauty of it was it started back east, but now it's gone to 19 additional states. And we talked about Arizona. So, we're in the ball game too.
Good.
Okay, so that's great. So there we go on that. Now, I want to ask you... Sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Well, it's just nice that they don't probably have to fill out a bunch of paperwork and, go through...
Well, there's a bit of application, but it's not heavy, I believe. So
Yeah. So that's what's nice that, it's if they're making it, somewhat easy for them.
It is, but it can't last forever. I think it's going through to April 30, maybe a little bit longer. That's the only thing. And but, he's got faith in the industry. He believes a lot will be back. He knows it's tough for a lot of others. I mean, he's been a businessman. He started, Samuel Adams and his kitchen table. And
did he? Oh, wow.
He's been there, you know what I mean? So, but it's terribly tough. And of course, in your neck of the woods, you got some great restaurants, but how many have closed down? Do you know, as a matter of interest?
So one of our, and it's they had two locations. So their main Tucson location is still open, but they had to close their Marana location, and it was a larger facility. And what their focus was is bringing, families together, and so they had a very large footprint, and so they just weren't able to do it. I mean, most of their business was based on catering and events, because they did have an outdoor space, and then they had a little meeting room, and so after, say a soccer game or a baseball game or something, the whole team would go there and eat.
Yes.
So, they just couldn't survive. They just weren't getting enough takeout business. They were getting takeout business and people were ordering and all of that. It just wasn't enough. And again, they had a couple of big events, to help support that location, and it just wasn't working. So I know of one restaurant that has definitely closed their doors for good. A couple of them have closed but hope to reopen once this is passed. Again, they have a large footprint in their location, and it just they take out. People were doing it, but it just wasn't enough. So they've had to,
No, that's a fallacy. People thinking, oh, well, can't they go take out? And, they haven't got as many staff, so therefore they should be able to save a little bit. It doesn't quite work that way, as it is tight margins in restaurants. But
exactly.
What about other forms of business? What are you finding with the members? Who are the ones that are fortunate enough to be still full bore out there, busy working? Have you heard of any of those?
Yeah. So there's quite a few that are still, busy. So like your electricians, your plumbers, your service workers, as far as, contract work and things like that are still busy.
Right.
I have spoken with some of the real estate people, and they seem to still, they're doing their showings virtually now. So you can get on and you can, do a showing virtually, which has been working for them too, and some of our apartment complexes too. They're doing their bookings virtually now. So
interesting.
So those types of businesses are doing pretty, are doing fair. I mean, they're not raking in the dough, of course, but IT support. So anybody that doesn't currently have their own in-house IT that has to use somebody outside, they're doing well. Obviously, your CPAs, your lawyers, they're doing excellent.
Yeah, and insurance too, pretty busy at the moment.
Insurance, yeah. So and not just your commercial insurance too, because a lot of times people think, oh gosh, I can't even I can't even pay my staff. How am I going to pay my insurance? And that's been a nice thing too. A lot of insurance companies are working with their businesses to make sure that they're still insured,
yes,
to some level, that they don't let that policy lapse.
No, that's important. Well, before we go, Audra, is there anything else you'd like to share with any of the listeners, members at all from Marana?
From Marana, yeah. I mean, if there's anything that you need from us, please give us a call. We, even though we're working from home, we are answering. We had our phones sent to someone's cell phone. So if there is somebody answering the phone, email us. Let us know if there's things that we can do to help you. In our e-blast, it's getting very, very long, but we're putting information in there. If you're running any specials, if you're needing something, let us know and we'll get it out to our members. So just know that we're still here working for you. Okay.
And the number for them to call, well, there's a couple of things. You've got a good website. So what's that address for starters?
Okay. It's maranachamber.com.
That's pretty simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could even remember that. maranachamber.com. All righty. Yeah. And that's .com, not .org. Yeah, .com.
Yeah, .com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the phone number that's being used now is what?
520-682-4314.
All right. 520-682. And the last four?
4314.
4314. Fabulous. Audra Winters, ladies and... Oh, sorry, Audra, go on.
I'm sorry, just one more. And if you, call your legislators right now, your senators, your congressmen, and urge them to continue to support our businesses, passing this additional funding and so forth, too. They need to hear from us more than ever now.
Great. My word, they do. All right. Thank you. Excellent, and thank you for taking the time out. I know you're very busy bringing us up to speed with Marana Chamber. Audra Winters, who is the president and CEO of the Marana Chamber. What a marvelous job. Thanks again, Audra. We'll talk to you another time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You
take
got it.
care.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You are currently listening to The Mark Bishop Show, broadcasting from the Stewart Title Studio on Broadway in Tucson, Arizona. Back to the show.
Well, we've had great chats on a whip around, and now, last but not least, a very busy lady, our president and CEO of the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce here in Tucson, Amber Smith. Hi, Amber. How are you doing?
I'm well, Mark. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. You too, everybody else working remotely, and no doubt you're doing the same, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Have been working from home about a month now.
So your chamber too actually closed down, no skeleton staff, nothing, just doors closed?
That's correct, as of March 16th.
Okay, so what are you doing to just stay in touch with members?
We are mirroring what many of our businesses are doing. We have daily Zoom meetings with either our chamber members or with staff, and it's kept us very well connected.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Everybody seems to be doing that. I think their shares have skyrocketed in this last month or so. Huh?
I'm sure.
Yeah, and what have you found? Any feedback mainly from lots of the businesses? How they're coping, what they're going through? What have you found mostly from them?
We've heard two primary concerns of businesses. Our first would be cash flow. That's not unexpected. I mean, based on the way that our federal government partners have come up with different relief programs, it's really to address that immediate concern. And then the second issue is morale. Morale and keeping themselves and family members safe, while also trying to either run a business or stay employed. It's really that uncertain world out there that's creating a lot of concern.
Yeah, it's in the back of the mind, isn't it? I mean, it's not easy to get rid of. Lots of businesses are still busy, depending on what they are, of course. It's certainly, as with the other chambers, a lot of the restaurants are copying it, of course, very hard. But there are businesses in the service industry that are keeping busy the best that they can. So I guess their morale's up a little more than others.
Correct. I think it's also the collision between the professional life and the personal life and trying to juggle both of those worlds fairly.
I think you had a couple of events coming up too, didn't you, that by now you would have had to cancel?
Correct. Right now, the state of the city remains postponed. We right now have not made a decision to cancel it. However, we do recognize that it is going to be held, and I think a different way than it has in the past. And then secondarily, our U of A athletics luncheon has been canceled. The university right now is largely closed.
Yeah. Well, there's two big ones right there, that you were looking forward to doing and counting on. So any rough dates down the track that, it would be hard, wouldn't it? You can't even really put a date on anything.
No, we cannot.
You knew, of course, about the Samuel Adams Fund, didn't you, for those that have worked in the hospitality, hotels, servers or people who work in restaurants and so on. And in case you didn't know, I wanted to share with you, I was speaking with him this morning, and that thing has gone to 20 states, including Arizona. So, any members of the chamber that have family or relatives who work in the industry, they in fact can get up to $1,000 in support here from the fund. And it was started up by the Boston Beer Company, Jim Cook. And it's really, called the Restaurant Strong Fund, and it's raised over a couple of $1 million. I don't think it goes much longer than the end of April, though, Amber. But if people go online and they go to the restaurantstrong.org, www.restaurantstrong.org, businessradiox.org, they can actually apply for some help there. So I know with the Metro Chamber, there's quite a lot of members, and maybe that might help some of their family or themselves for that matter. So they can do that.
We've heard of a lot of benevolent efforts like that. And I think the more we hear along those lines, the improvement in morale we will continue to see.
Yes, it lifts everybody. It's been a wonderful exercise in people pulling together, if nothing else. What's your take on, some of the stuff that's going on, even politically perhaps? I mean, do you think we'd be back to work soon, or how do you see us here in Tucson?
I think that there will be some relief for certain industries beginning the first of the month. However, it is likely to be a phased-in approach, and business will certainly look different than it did formerly. Offices, businesses, manufacturers, all are going to have to start thinking about what does social distancing look like in the workplace and create a more permanent structure that allows for that. And in addition to that, many have learned that their offices and their operations function through off-site and telecommuting. So I believe policies will be updated to allow for that in a more permanent capacity.
And do you get many of the businesses asking for your advice on which way to go with this?
We are starting to get those questions, absolutely. So we will start creating some best practices that we learned from some of our large corporate members that have resources and activities that were ahead of the curve during all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Folks like Cox Communications, they were doing telecommuting weeks in advance of when it started to become more the norm. So we'll rely on partners like that and learn what their best practices are so that we can evolve that for our small and mid-sized businesses.
Well, you work very hard with your team at the Metro Chamber to do a lot of work in our fair city for businesses, both brand new coming into town. And it must be tough for them at the moment, any newbies, just wanting to start up when all this hit the wall.
Absolutely. One of those members in particular is Chef Chic, longtime caterer in the community, and that's how she was a member of our chamber under that. And she just opened a brick and mortar restaurant a few months ago. So
yes.
Certain those situations have us really concerned.
That's right. And I remember meeting her as well because, yes, that's right. She was just about to open that and was going to do some travel dinners too, from memory, in different parts of the world. Yes,
that's right. She already has that model in place, which is great. And that actually raises a good point as well. Is in that case, that's Wendy Gauthier, and part of her business model prior to COVID were these prepackaged meals for busy households like mine, or some that may just not enjoy cooking. They can go pick up, have delivered from her at the time catering facility, these prepackaged dinners, and then put it in the oven, cook it, and you have your gourmet meal there at a reasonable price. So what that meant for Wendy is she's able to innovate and evolve through COVID because she already had that structure in place.
Yes, that was an easier one.
And so that's what we're looking for is other businesses are going to have to get creative as well in coming out to come up with those type of innovations.
So where do you see us, from a visionary point of view? To make a statement like that is very sound. And then you get thinking, well, hang on a minute. What does she mean? How are we going to get creative? What do we need to do? We can't deliver food,
Right.
So what sort of things come to mind? Can you share any of that?
Of the different innovations?
Yeah, just as a matter of interest.
Well, I know that Ventana Canyon Resort, they have started a food delivery program for some of their, they do have some patrons there staying at the hotel that are doing their quarantine at the hotel. So they've had to really adjust their services as well and figure out how they can build their clientele and then serve those that are there as well.
Well, there you go. I'm sort of visualizing a room with everybody sitting way apart from each other, of course, but having to come up with new concepts, new ideas, new ways that they never have to think of before.
Gosh, I don't know. I think one service that made me think of our Knowledge at Noon we had earlier, our car dealerships. Uru, I don't know if they're going to do this because I didn't tune in, honestly, but what they were discussing is how to maintain your car during COVID. Well, I would think an innovative idea and program for them is to be working with fleet vehicles, and this is probably something that Mr. Car Wash will start thinking about, is working with those fleet vehicle companies and making sure to sanitize them to the COVID-19 standards.
Yes, that's a very good point. Yes, it's, oh my word, you bring that to the fore indeed. My son works in the industry for Brake Masters as an assistant manager, and they've gone quiet too, but still busy enough because they've got to work. People need their cars on the road for helping others, servicing others, delivering. You can't drive a dangerous car. You've still got to have things fixed and done, but the masks are on and the gloves are on, and it's some more than others. And we thank the people who have to do these, even the garbage guys. You know what I mean? They're out there doing what they've got to do, and we need them as well. So the chamber has a newsletter as well. You have lots of communication things that you're doing. Can you share some of those before you head off?
Well, we do have our daily Knowledge at Noon programs that historically have been things like how to get social media to work for you and how to save on your taxes and those type of topics. But something that we've added to our programming is mixers. And to try to keep it social, we do have a bartender coming in that's going to mix drinks during that mixer, all during a Zoom call. So we have that. And two, really, it's our connections. That's really why most businesses become chamber members, whether that is to build their book of business and connect with large groups of people, or perhaps it's, you've been trying to target a couple of 3 businesses and you'd like to have that warm introduction.
Yes.
Well, you're still doing, all of those services, but it's also connecting to resources and those experts that can really help lead companies the way. It's really about identifying those credible, knowledgeable partners through SBA or SBDC or those bankers that have really been building a fantastic reputation through this process. And we want to be able to continue to be that resource, much like the grant program you just mentioned. We get many of those on our desk to communicate out, and we'll do that. We are also raising money through our partnership with Community Investment Corps, which that is a nonprofit that has lending capabilities for small businesses, and they can offer interest rates and payback terms that most any other bank cannot offer due to their being a nonprofit. So we're involved on all of those places, and you know that we've been actively working on workforce development efforts, and that's where we're really shining right now. Is we do have our platform stood up, connecting talent to open positions, and unfortunately there's a lot of people out there looking for jobs. And I'm grateful to know that there are companies looking for people, so we're making those connections as well through Pipeline AZ.
Well, that's great. So I guess then I should say, for anybody listening now, the best thing for them to do is go where? Straight to the Chamber's website?
That's right.
And would you like to share that?
Yep, www.tucsonchamber.org.
There you go. That's simple enough. So everything's on that. And, if you're not registered to get newsletters and what have you, and emails, do so, because then you'll be kept right up to date with latest information and things that they got going. They work very hard, the Metro Chamber here in Tucson, and they do a lot of good for the community. So we've got to support them too, All right, Amber, thanks I know you're busy. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. You're most welcome. Amber Smith, ladies and gentlemen, the President and CEO of the Tucson Metropolitan Chamber. And thanks to our other chamber members for coming on board. A quick whip around to find out what's going on and an update. And I hope you found that beneficial. And by all means, if there's anything that you missed in the way of an address or something, you can always just email me, Mark Bishop, at Tucson Business Radio X, TucsonBusinessRadioX.com, and I'll answer as quickly as I can. All right. Thank you. Goodbye now.